Okay, In Jee, we are live.
Live.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I should have put my face on then.
Ah, I didn't communicate that to you. I'm sorry.
Probably did. I just don't pay attention very well.
Girl, I was asking all these just like, oh, I want to talk to women every weekend in March. Let me send messages to the women I want to talk to like yesterday. So that means there probably was some details that was not in there. But at any rate, I'm glad that you said yes so
And I'm
that we can
always glad to talk to
connect.
you.
Yay!
Yay. So yeah,
Um,
don't have much update since the last time we talked.
Girl, the world has changed and in some ways the same from the last time we did one of these videos. Um, Unfortunately, some ways good, some ways, kind of sucky.
Well, a few
However,
things are better, a few things are worse. So
right.
we'll just have to see how it is when everything starts to open up. If any of the changes are permanent or if we go back to status quo.
Now I'm just hearing this and I'll share it to your page um later or now or tell me you got some tea with you now?
Yes, I am definitely caffeinated, so 2 cups of
Yeah.
coffee, 1 cup of tea.
Okay. I am too. I almost took a B12, but I was like, I probably don't need that. Me and my son just had a little walk this afternoon. It's nice outside, so
Yeah, I'm good. Whoa, you taking out the fancy teacup there.
yes,
I am impressed.
girl, yes. No, that's what I'm saying. Telling somebody earlier, tea is a whole experience. Okay, gadgets included. I got so many different tea steepers. um, Little cute ones like this, but then whole pots is all this stuff that you end up collecting along the way to make that perfect cup of tea. But what kind of tea you drinking?
A friend of mine has a fair trade shop in Shorewood, and she gave me, uh, I don't know the brand, it's just loose tea. And I usually don't drink loose tea, but I thought I'd give it a try. She specializes in fair trade and also local craftsmen.
Okay.
So it's called Just Goods um, in Shorewood. And so, yeah, I've been enjoying it, but I think I need to invest in a tea infuser because we don't have one. My husband and I have been trying to get creative with how to brew it.
Oh, you sent me your address before, didn't you? Okay.
Maybe
I
a
can
long time
send you
ago.
one of my little packages,
Oh,
which
really? Okay.
it'll include a strainer, or maybe I'll bring it. You don't live far from me, so maybe I could save myself some postage. Yeah. So last month I was. This is what my mother loves. Valentine's Day. So I was giving away care packages and care boxes that included these cute cards with my cactus babes. I say they're cute. We call them cactus babes. So it says different phrases. This is goddess. This one says tasting the world sip by sip. So
Beautiful
the
artwork.
box it is the artist's name is Christina Vang and she's been fantastic to work with. So I would send you like one of these cards, a couple some tea, loose leaf tea, and a strainer.
So kind of you.
I'll bring it to you. I'll probably bring it to you. I was maybe dropping off some stuff for somebody else too. I gotta make sure they're supposed to be sending me money this week, so I can drop it off either to you tomorrow or Monday or something like that. But
I'll be home.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm Rhonda. I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Rhonda.
Hi,
For anybody
Rhonda.
who's watching, I don't know, founder of Not Your Mother's Tea, Not Your Mama's Tea, want to take some time and celebrate women this month because it's Women's History Month. And so I've just been connecting with women like you and others who I like to talk to and engage with, and that offers some inspiration. And I consider you to be one of those women. So,
Well, thank you very
um,
much.
yeah, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Since we met now almost 2 years ago. So
Has it been that long?
I know
The
it's
time, my God, the time flies.
right. It's the last year probably just seemed like bloop, since everything. But yeah, I met you before the pandemic, so it's been 2 years. Um, so yeah, and so I'm joined by Miss In Jee. And she already shared what tea she's drinking, and I'm drinking a white tea, a oolong tea that is called creme brulee. So it's a nice flavor, mild dessert tea. And I've been asking this of my guests, and it is this: what tea best describes you?
He best describes me. I don't think there's really one particular tea that I would associate with my character or personality. I'm more of a, oh, let me try that one. I haven't tried that one yet. Oh, that's new. Let me try that one. So I think this is evading your question though. I mean, I do enjoy Earl Grey and chamomile, but I try to branch out to brands and also flavors I haven't tried.
Oh, well, okay. See, I would never chamomile. I would not pick that to be a descriptor of you. The chamomile kind. I wouldn't say that would be like a tea that would. But the Earl Grey, because the Earl Grey has a certain like it has a bergamot, and it has a really distinct flavor to it. Um, so yeah, we can vibe with that. It's a
Um,
distinct taste.
I did think of one brand though. It's called Puka, Pukka. I don't know which country I think it's imported, but the reason why I got involved in that tea is I was looking for a tea brand that you can just compost. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to uh, cut off the tags or anything. You can just
Right.
throw the whole thing. But most of the tea bags have some kind of plastic in the mesh, which
Yeah.
makes it difficult and messy to open it up and compost it. But this brand doesn't have the staple in it, doesn't have the plastic. You can just toss it in your compost bin. So I thought that for convenience,
Right.
I decided to give that, and then it introduced me to a whole different variety of flavors.
Right. Cool. Okay. Remind me of that brand or type it in the chat or tag me when I tag you on this video or something. Put it on there because that may be something I can lift up for Earth Day, which is coming up soon.
Okay, there you go.
Maybe that's a brand I can find,
Well,
or
I've got it. Pick and save.
maybe they will sponsor me. Okay. Something like hey. Okay. See how that's spelled. Okay, that's interesting. So, what's been up with you? Because I mean, life has just been very different for everybody. And I was wondering, just particularly for your work, that's been so I meeting, if you watched my other talks, I've met the other women that I've been in connection with outside of work. I actually met you because of work. And so I didn't really talk with the other ladies about work because that's not how I met them. But I met you through work, and so I'm interested into how your life has been playing out with that, with everything that's been happening here. Her part of you want to say what your job is? I don't have to say what it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm an international programs coordinator at the International Institute of Wisconsin, and the institute has five main departments. So the two most popular would be immigration casework and refugee resettlement. But aside from that, they also have interpretation and translation, the annual festival, Holiday Folk Fair International. I mean, Holiday Folk Fair International, and then my own department. I am a contractor for the U.S. Department of State for professional exchanges. And it's just me in the department. but I did want to mention I think IIW is in the same boat as a lot of other nonprofits that we have a lot of programming and fiscal challenges because of COVID, and also we're in the situation where a lot of the funders are trying to re-strategize and redirect where they're going to put their funding. And before, it was just a free-for-all, there was money everywhere, but now every time there's some kind of an economic crisis, the belt gets tightened. And they have to
Mm,
decide, do we want to fund hunger? Do we want to fund childhood cancer? Do we want to fund environmental initiatives? Well, it seems like the last year or so, the new strategy, the new focus is homelessness, and which all of these target initiatives are important, and they affect so many people, and it's difficult to see that we are losing funding, but other people are gaining funding. They are losing funding, but we are gaining funding, and it's a difficult situation to be in
yeah.
for any nonprofit. We're in a situation in where there's so many pieces to the puzzle. So if you take immigration, for example, or refugee resettlement, that includes housing, school enrollment, medical care, job development, and also immigration, getting your green card and eventually getting them on their way to citizenship. You take one piece out of that puzzle, the whole thing can collapse. And so we have to do a lot of juggling to make sure all of the pieces to the puzzle are there for every single client. So that way we can streamline the process from arrival to getting them set up, to getting them stabilized, and getting their citizenship. And
Yeah.
it's a long road.
Yeah.
And this affects vulnerable populations. And so, but we've survived other economic crises before. We have a lot of support with partners. We're part of the Milwaukee Area Refugee Consortium, but we are one of the last two organizations that provide services for refugees in the greater Milwaukee area. There used to be four, now we're down to two. And so
Yeah.
we
What is
have
it
to
still
make
the
sure,
Lutheran organization?
yes,
Yeah.
Lutheran Social
Yeah.
Services,
I
another
used to
excellent
work with that.
organization.
Yeah. When I worked for Lutheran Church, part of my portfolio was refugee resettlement. Working with the congregations who were interested in helping refugees resettle. So I know just a little, nowhere near as much as you. So I'm somewhat familiar with that whole thing. So I do actually have some um, empathy from where you're coming from with that, and just knowing. But isn't that like something though? How and when you hear that last year there are people who made obscene amount of money, like it's some people who became astronomically wealthy last year, due to this crisis, right? And knowing that there are people out here with buttloads of money, I should say, well, truckloads of money, and but for your organization and other organizations that are out here helping the least of these or those who need it in some form, it's always strapped, always trying to see what you can juggle to shift to this, and it's just I hate how you have to, and especially in that nonprofit world, and a lot of times you always got to shuck and jive for your next meal. It's not so being a trendy hashtag for the moment is not. That's really no place any. You don't really want to be there because if you're trending today and this is where funders want to put the money, you could just be out next. In the next 1 to 2 years, there's going to be a different interest or priority. So I think that's always frustrating.
But I think it's also a matter of finding the right funder, whether it's a foundation, and there's many different types of foundations, or a sponsor with a particular interest in this type of field. There has been surveys out there to funders to find out why they do or they don't um, provide funding for a certain organization or certain causes. And the number one reason they said they don't is they say no one asked us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't know about your organization.
Right.
If we
Right.
don't know, we can't give you
Can't
funding.
give you the money. Right.
You never asked us, and we're not just going to go up and say, here's a check until we know that you actually need it and you come to us and ask us.
Yeah.
So there is money out there. It's just finding the one funder who it is well aligned with the mission of our organization. And sometimes it does mean getting out there, doing advocacy work, uh, getting the mission out there and connecting with people. So we can't be at home in our little shells. We
Right.
have to go out there and mingle with the community.
Right. You do. And that's a good point too. Is when you can get so involved in your work and you feel so passionate about your cause, whatever that cause is, that you get so wrapped up into it and think that because you care about it, everybody should care about it. But as you're pointing out, that that's not really how it works. You have to go move around, network, apply, let your voice be heard, and try to reel in, some whatever dollars you can get. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to, well, not one other thing. One reason why I wanted to talk to you today, and I've been doing this with all the ladies I've been speaking with, and just sharing, why I wanted to talk to you and how I see you as a woman of inspiration. First off, when I met you, one, it's just the job itself, doing that work, which is interesting for me to learn about. I had no clue that job existed, that we were that kind of work was being done at all. So that was really cool. But from the jump, you've been just willing to, one, be open to the interfaith world when I was there and just engage in what we were doing. So I knew, like, okay, I could call you and you would say, yeah, I'll come to that. You just kind of like that person that's like, I'm game. But I really felt like I got to meet you on a different level at that Milwaukee event when you got up there and you spoke with all kinds of passion and curse words. And I was like, oh, In Jee is unboxed today. She out. And so I really enjoyed meeting that side of you. So being able to see you as a person with a lot of passion and voice, and just like I, and you're thoughtful too. You're very thoughtful, because I remember from some things that you shared when we were doing
Excuse me
the
one
event.
minute. My battery is dying, and so I am just going to plug in.
Oh yeah, no
But
problem.
keep going. I don't.
Yeah, you could just move and plug. But so yeah, it's just like, oh, um, she's very thoughtful and very willing to speak her mind and say what needs to be said. And so I thought that, I just thought that was just a really cool side of you that I got a chance to meet in that way. But also knowing that you are a thoughtful person and um, you think about things beyond the surface level, and I appreciate that. And being willing to offer your thoughts, it makes me have to reflect and think more about whatever it is that I'm thinking. Girl, it's okay. You ain't. I know you. It's all
I'm
good.
definitely listening. I just don't want this to die in the middle of your.
I see
Okay,
you
we're good.
flashing
It's
when you
plugged
like,
in.
I gotta get it together. You about to turn red.
I'm
So
not
yeah,
drinking. It looks like an Asian flush, but I swear I'm not drinking.
okay. So yeah, I definitely felt like, okay, I want to definitely talk to In Jee too. She has, I feel like you have good things to say. You're thoughtful, and you have a spice to you that is not always apparent right away, but it's there.
I want to add something to this conversation. We were talking about interfaith, getting out there to Milwaukee, and just talking to people. And I think that's something that Asian Americans don't do enough. And I don't want to gatekeep. I don't want to represent any particular group, but this is just superficial, I guess a superficial observation, but I've noticed in the conversation of social justice, we have black, brown, white, um, but there's certain Asian groups that don't show up to the table, and I think that needs to change.
Hmm.
And I can't say that I'm part of the larger Asian population because I'm an adoptee. So when people talk about Asian culture or Asian values, that's something that I'm not familiar with. But I have heard the conversation just by sitting and listening, and where it's we want to be able to succeed and thrive in the United States, be a part of the United States, contribute to the United States, but we want to stay out of trouble. We
Mm.
just keep to ourselves, don't get involved. And I think that you cannot be a part of any society unless you're actually willing to roll your sleeves up and get dirty and be a part of improvement, a change, moving forward. Because you cannot expect people to come and defend you and fight for you when you need it if you're not willing to show up for them.
Mm.
And this is very topical now because we hear about these rise in anti-Asian
Right.
racism and these racist events. And you see Asian people getting together saying we are Americans, but I want to ask them, okay, a lot of people are getting together and they're defending you, but can you in turn also say that your black, brown neighbors, co-workers, friends, they're also human. Can you recognize their humanity and show up when they need it to?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, we had that. That was one of our
that's why
first.
I show up.
Yeah, that was one of our
Just
first conversations last year. We talked about. That's what I was meaning. Like some things are still the same because when we first had our live, we talked about the rise of the racism against Asians, and that's you made me aware of Donald Trump saying the kung flu thing, and I had so you told me that I hadn't even heard that. I just had read that Andrew Yang article, so I know is that it's unfortunate the way that the violence is continuing. It's also unfortunate the relationship between Black people and Asians. Really, you can say when I can say the Asian diaspora. You know, I don't even have to make it Southeast Asian or any particular country, but it's really been because you're not the first person. I heard another guy who's Asian Indian, and he really he really went in on his own community, sharing some of the same things you're saying, like, hey, we have to show up. We want people to show up for us. We have to show up too. These issues concern us all. So I'm appreciative of you saying that because I think it is it's noticeable, right? We notice.
and it's not just showing up to a protest for Black Lives Matters. That's part of it. It's everything that we do, all of our interactions together. And it's like, do you show up to these just a regular event, not a special event, just a regular event of dialogue? Do you, do you actually make an effort to get to know people, not on a I'm going to have a black friend, but I am going to have a friend because this person has something to say, is of value to me. This person is a human being. We can enrich each other's lives and we can be better people for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the same reason that we seek friendship and companionship with people who are like us, we should also do that for people who are different from us. And rather than looking for, I mean, it's easy to gravitate to what's familiar,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that we should also try to branch out, get a little bit out of our comfort zone because some of my best friends are people who are not like me. You know,
Yeah.
those are the deepest, most valuable friendships and relationships I have.
Yeah.
And sometimes they started out a little bit uncomfortable, you know, because we see things only on the face value, but we have to rip off the band-aid and get to know the person underneath.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a head start on that because you had a cross-racial adoption? And you have a lot of, I think, well, I don't want to be sharing your story,
No,
but
I think that because there's so many aspects of my story which don't fit neatly into boxes.
yeah.
Um, I think there's value in everybody's story, but I think there's for mine, it's doesn't exactly go in a straight line because it was a transracial adoption. Um, it was also a very difficult situation in where I had to take a step back and look at objectively at the situation because I noticed that there's a problematic racial language that my Caucasian family was using, and I hate to put them on blast like this, but I think this is something that needs to be talked about in transracial adoptions, and where you have people of privilege taking in children of color and essentially whitewashing their experience
Oh yeah.
and not recognizing that you cannot whitewash a person's identity, that even if you change the name, you don't allow access to their culture or language of origin. It's still there, and it has to be recognized. It has to be acknowledged, and um, and it has to be respected in a way that's not fetishized.
Mm. Girl,
And
we can have a whole separate conversation on fetishization, if I'm saying that right.
and when you have
That's
the
a whole
conversation with the
conversation.
kids, don't impart your own racial biases to that child. I mean,
That's so
parents
hard
will
to
do
do.
that. You know, parents will do
Right.
that with their own bio kids, which is a
Yeah.
problem, but they will
Yeah.
also do it
That's so
with their own
hard.
adoptive kids too.
Yeah. Yeah. See what I mean? Why In Jee is like that intense fire? You probably didn't even think if you watching this, you probably didn't think she was gonna come with all of this. But that's you always have this depth that I love.
But my own racial education is not something that's cut and dry. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people when you say, "Hey, what you have done is what we've said or done is problematic," and they will get very defensive and angry about it. I'm trying to be, and I'm sure I have said or done something as well. And you have to be, I think for my own growth, I have to be able to stop, listen, and acknowledge, yeah, what I said is problematic. I take responsibility for that, and I want to be able to change it so that way I'm not cutting myself off from the conversation. I'm not causing other people to shut down either, and we can move forward with this.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I try to, I mean, I do a lot of conversations around racism in my other life with race and faith. And I always stress we have to make room for grace. I mean, if a person is genuinely coming to the subject and really wanting to move forward, um, I like to create the space that we can allow room for people to make mistakes. You know somebody's going to make a mistake. It's gonna be something that you don't like, that you see, that you read, just like whatever. But it is saying, okay, let me make this space available that you can actually grow. So I'm not gonna take this opportunity to pounce on you, and tell you how wrong and stupid you are, and how evil and racist you are. However, I'm gonna correct you. And so what I hear you saying is, I'm gonna take this correction. I'm gonna put down the defensiveness and just take the correction, own it, and try to be better. And I think that for me, um, that means a lot. You know, showing that you want to actually hear it, receive it, internalize it to where you actually change and do something different versus just, sometimes people become performative and they know the words to say just to get you off their back in the moment. And down the line, they're going to keep doing the same thing. Maybe not in front of you because now they know you don't like that and you will call them out, but they're going to go do it with somebody else. So it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I don't make room. I don't want to make room for that, but I really will make grace for some genuinely wrestling, and wanting to actually go deeper so we can change and get something better, you know. But before we keep going into this, because I could talk, we could keep going on this all day. I want to know what woman is inspiring you these days, and what are some of your hopes for women? I know for me, I've definitely been saying that coining this year as the year for Black women. It's been so many Black women that have been doing a lot of things in the political sphere. A lot of Black women, or more Black women, being appointed to um, top executive positions in companies. And I'm just taking that energy in for myself, being a Black woman who is an entrepreneur, and wanting to grow and expand what I'm doing. I'm just inspired, and even knowing in the midst of the pandemic and all of the ongoing racial injustice, um, just seeing the way Black women have been shining lately is it's inspirational for me. It's like, it's that, like, I know I can, um, and I know I will kind of thing. So I'm excited. So what woman is inspiring you these days, and what hopes do you have for women?
Um, I know this is going to sound cheesy and it's cliched, but I'm going to say my mom.
No,
And
that's
no,
what's
for a
cheesy
reason.
about that. Girl, please, especially, I lost my mom
Yeah, I'm
in
so
June,
sorry to
so
hear about
moms are
that.
great. Mm-mm. Can't
Um,
never not say your mama.
my mom is not someone who is loud or flashy. And she married into an Italian family, and she kind of just kept quiet, kept to herself, while her in-laws around her were very loud and boisterous. She she was the type of woman who just found a niche of community service, and she did it quietly. And she was always the type to jump in and do volunteer work. Um, it was nothing that gave her accolades. She never received any recognition for her work. She just found something that she could do, and that gave her some satisfaction knowing she was making a small contribution. And then this is something where I had to become a little bit more humble. So
Mm.
when you're a kid or a teenager, you think that you're going to change the world. You're going to be the voice of your generation. The world's going to be a better place because of your activism, your work. Fact is that only for a select few is that ever going to happen, if even once in a generation. And that's the idealism of youth. And what I learned from my mom is that you can make a contribution, albeit a small one. There's small steps that you can take, which will also be effective. Um, they can affect a single person. They can affect the community. You will not get recognition for it. You will not get people to say thank you.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, when you're at the end of your life, you know what? I did my part.
Right.
And I think that should be that's the goal. After I realized I wasn't going to change the world, then why am I here? What is my actual purpose in life? Get out of bed, do something, go volunteer for a couple of hours, work the
Mhm.
polls at the election, collect some food for a food drive. You know, just show up.
Going up. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we got
that's
two
what she
T-shirts
did.
out of this conversation.
Um,
I did my part and
yeah.
show up.
And then the other aspect of her is she was a woman who was raised from a certain time, part of the white supremacy culture. But then when I brought to her attention that this is a problem and you cannot have this mindset, especially when you have loved ones who are people of color, rather than get defensive, she took a step back and she looked at the situation and she said, you know what? You're right. This is not reflective of me and my values, and it has to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so it shows that if we are willing to be objective and swallow our pride and really consider other people, especially those that we love, then yeah, change is possible. So yeah, I would say my mom is the one I look up to.
Yeah. So would that be part of your hope too, that change is possible?
Change is possible, definitely, but it takes two sides. One is the willingness to change, and the other is the willingness to forgive.
Mm. Yeah. That forgiveness piece, that's a
It's a hard one,
continuous
yeah.
struggle. It's especially in the face of, I know, and especially, considering the racial tension and so much things that are happening, the ongoing racism, it makes it really hard to forgive when it keeps happening. Um, I think a part of it is, I guess, um, when it comes down to those relationships, just having, like you said, between you and your mom, that meaningful exchange where she made forgiveness possible by saying, by actually listening and investigating and doing something different. But I guess we still do, even if a person never decides to apologize, they never decide that, hey, you're right, I should change. It doesn't mean that you don't need to forgive. So how do you find that strength to say, like, okay, this person, they want to be on this, but because I think to hold all of that unforgiveness in you, it does something to you. Like holding all of that inside of you
Yeah.
is actually transforming you in a way that is not healthy. So we do have to find a way to forgive. So I like that point you said. Like, yeah, two sides of that hope. Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
And I don't, but I want to add, I don't forgive everybody.
yeah,
It has to be genuine, and I think a lot of the change is, as you say, performative. But if it comes from a genuine place, then if we truly do want to move on and to be better, then both sides have to be willing to come to some kind of a consensus. One side without the other, I think, is going to be difficult.
mm, I
Yeah.
don't know. Sometimes I mean, consensus around race
Well,
things.
consensus, maybe consensus is not the best word,
Um,
but yeah, I've had people want to talk about it, and it just did not seem real.
mhm,
And I said, if it's not coming from a real place, then the I can't have this conversation.
yeah,
And I can't, I just, for my own mental health, I'm gonna have to walk away.
right, right, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's true. I think, just I don't I don't imagine myself having any more children. Um, I'm happy with my son. And as I think about the future and the world that we're creating, uh, and what I'm hoping it will yield for us, I really hope it will be a space, maybe wrought from this time period, where we see more women, just like me and you, all of us together, really creating the kind of deep relationships that we're talking about, that moves past performance. The ripping off the band-aid. I like when you said that. That says like, okay, we can get deep, we can dive, and we can really form these genuine relationships and bonds that will actually prove transformative in ways we have yet to see. Because I don't think we have fully done that yet. Um, Not together, not as women. And so that's like, if I had a young daughter, that's one thing I would really want to push for her. Which I have a niece who's 15, who I adore, and I see her a beautiful, brilliant young mind, and I'm hoping, and I want her to. She doesn't like the whole networking thing you talked about, all that. She really don't like being in public that much. She don't want to network with people. She wants to withdraw. But I really feel like we have to put ourselves out there. Closed mouths don't get fed, right? You can't have genuine relationship without first showing yourself relatable, somebody who can be in relationship with another. And I think if we can, to get past what the so much male energy have created, we need a real robust feminine paradigm to come through. And I think that paradigm shift to come through, and I think that only happens when we, women across the spectrum, we allow ourselves to engage with each other in these meaningful ways. So I'm really hoping that the young women of the future, that they can really start to get into some real relationships together and not get into that thing like it's always been perpetuated that women are catty. And I don't know if you've ever had this before where you're with other groups of women that say, I can't have any female friends, I can't be friends with women. I've heard that so many times. I'm like, that's crazy. That's not me. I have I value friendships with women. So I'm like, we have to kind of get to that place where we can really rip that band-aid off and have these genuine bonds, you know? Awesome. You made me think it, just this conversation made me really think about, and some of the other conversations I had earlier today, just made me think about that. Like we have a real shot here as women to really change it if we can, if we challenge ourselves to really connect in these deeper ways that I think has yet really to be seen. We haven't done it yet. Maybe the next generation will do it.
Hopefully. So
Oh no.
I don't know. Sometimes when it seems like we're moving forward, then we're sliding back. But I think it's interesting where you said where there's some, yeah, there are some women who have blinders on and they're not willing to make friends with other women, or um, they they don't feel like they can connect with other women. And I think that's, it reminds me of this internship I had, and where these group of little girls, I think they're kindergarten and first grade. It was in North Philly at a community center, and there are two girls who just could not get along. And I didn't quite know how to handle it, so I was observing the older counselor, this wonderful woman named Miss Lily. She was listening to one of the girls complain about the other girl, and like, I don't like her, blah, 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 blah. And she says, well, I think that's a shame because I think you are both wonderful little girls. And if you are not friends with her, and that's your decision, you can do that, you're cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself of a wonderful friend.
Mm.
And I thought, damn, what did I think of that? That's awesome.
Yes. Yes. That's we need to just, let's hold that, right. Let's just hold that right there. Let's contain our thing right there. I love it. Cause that's what's up. Thank you, Miss Lily, for that wisdom.
Miss Lily was awesome.
Yes. Yes. You're gonna rob yourself. Yeah.
And
Love
I've taken that bit of advice to heart. She didn't know I was listening or observing. I was kind of in the background, but I was looking at all of the older counselors and the teachers and just trying to pick up little nuggets of wisdom. How do they interact with the kids? How do they interact with each other? What can I learn from it? And that was probably one of the highlights of that summer.
Yeah.
Like women can be either our greatest enemies tear us down, or they can be our biggest defenders and biggest supporters. So we have to
Yes,
decide, what do we want to be.
yes. We have to decide. I think this is a great year for us to decide that. I mean, not everything rests on 2021, but I really think we have some doors open to us in ways that weren't present before. And we have to decide together how we want to walk through those doors. So yeah, I think that's great. I want to show you some of my Not Your Mama's Tea things, because this is Not Your
Sure,
Mama's Tea.
okay.
And so I have had to pivot, and I can't do things how I used to do them, which was having my tea parties and renting out a place and just have people come. People don't really want to gather with people they don't know. So I started offering private tea parties, either virtual, online, or a small group in person. And so that's been a fun, cool thing to do. I also get my screen up here, created these meditation cards. And so this project I'm super excited about. I don't know why that did that. This project I'm really, really excited about, and I want to share with you, and I want you to tell me what you think about it. Um, you can be like super honest, which I don't think you'll be anything less than that.
I'll try to keep it clean, Rhonda.
You can be really honest about the project, but I wrote these cards. They're called meditation cards. There's 40 cards in the deck. It's meant to help you start your day off and help you set your intentions for the day over a cup of tea. Like, tea is a whole practice. It really is. And so while your tea is steeping, when I give you your new tea steeper, in theory, when these cards come out, you can have them too. Well, you can purchase them. You can purchase the cards, but while the tea is steeping, you can read a card, absorb that message, write your intention for that day, timer go off, pour your tea and drink it. So let's anyways, Not Your Mama's Tea. Well, this is Shelly, who I do my tea jam with. She does our tea tasting. She's really cool. Oh, that's my DJ I'll be having on hand. That's my DJ I'll be having on hand. But this is my set of cards. Artist is Christina Bang.
Is she based out of Milwaukee?
She was from Milwaukee. Now she lives in Minneapolis. And she posted one of these, we call them Cactus Babes. She posted it on her page one day, one of a form of it. I was like, oh, that is the look I want for my deck of cards. So I wrote her, I was like, can I have that? And she said, okay. So we've been working together on this project for a little over a year. Oh, there's forgiveness. That's my preview of my deck. Oh, I'm listening.
Well, is this the part where I have to be honest? We were talking about honesty.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me where I can purchase the cards. I'm ready.
Perfect. You have me on edge. I didn't know where it's gonna go, and I was like, okay, because I know I'm like, hey, everything ain't for everybody, and so that's cool. I understand that. So I was waiting. I was like, what are you gonna say? I will. Right now we're taking pre-orders, so you can email me, and I'll give you my email address.
I ordered one for my mom because it reminded me of my relationship. Some of those little comments that were written kind of reminded me of the journey I had with my mom. I
Oh,
think it would be something she would appreciate.
cool.
Yeah, because her birthday is coming up, and I can say, Mom, here are the cards that represent where we've been and where we're going.
Yes. Amen to that. Yay. Okay, goody. I lost my job and I wrote those cards. This was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. Lost my job due to funding, not enough funding. um, and I wrote those cards in one night. So, and the rest was just, I wrote them in 2018. And so the rest was waiting for the art to come. And so then I connected with her last year. So it took me 2 years
How did you
practically.
get connected with her?
Well, she's my friend on Facebook. So, and we grew up with her. My sister grew up with her, childhood friend of my sister's, and now she's my friend. Um, so yeah, and she's a wonderful artist, as you can tell. And so then I saw the one, and when I saw those cactus, she called them cactus babes or prickly babes or something, and I'm like, this represents my work, and I feel like the cactus. I wouldn't. It was not something that I would have just thought of, but as soon as I saw it, I was inspired by it because I think it kind of represents the complexity of us as women in some ways. That the cactus is nurturing because it's also a plant, but it's also got that prickly hard exterior, and it buds flowers, so it can be beautiful. It brings up so many different things. I just thought it was such
Also
a
resilient.
yes.
It's a resilient plant that can
It
weather
is
all sorts
great.
of extreme
Exactly.
situations.
Yes. So you feeling my vibe?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can see, I can make the connections now that you're talking me through it. Yeah, I
Okay.
think I was just admiring the artistic aesthetic of it. But now that you're able to show me the connections between the artwork and the lines of poetry and putting it all together, how it all meshes.
Yeah. Well, good. So, yay. Thank you. Tell me, Miss Lily's line one more time. Say that line one more time.
I think it's a shame you're cheating yourself. You could be great friends. You're
Yeah.
cheating yourself of a friend.
Cheating yourself of a friend. You said a couple good nuggets earlier.
You did record this, right?
It's on. I didn't record it, but it's on Facebook Live, so I'll see it later. But yeah, that was great. So thank you so much for
Rhonda?
allowing us to develop a relationship. We didn't decide to cheat ourselves. So thanks for having this time with me. I appreciate it. I've been telling people, oh, it'll just be like 15, 30 minutes. And every time I've been talking, it's been almost an hour. But I appreciate it.
And send me the link because my mom's birthday is coming up.
Okay, I sure
Okay.
will do that. The other thing, what do I need to? Oh, is it something I can promote for you?
Yeah, two things. So the first, we're talking about tea. My friend's shop in called Just Goods in Shorewood. They promote fair trade goods and local artisans as well.
Okay.
The other one is the International Institute of Wisconsin, located in downtown Milwaukee. We support immigration work from getting one's green card, family petitions, and to becoming citizens and active members of society, and also the refugee journey from one's arrival to the United States, stabilizing their life, and then also becoming American citizens. And then we're all in the same boat.
Well, you know what?
We're all working together.
We can put up a donation link when I do with this video. I'll take some clips out of the video and we'll just set up a donation link, and maybe somebody might watch it and decide to donate to the organization. So thank you.
Thank you so much,
Don't
Rhonda.
keep not cheating yourself. Bye bye.
You take care.
Yep.